Hello everyone. So I think we need to talk about this console generation because this is a problem that I could not have foreseen. I don't think anyone saw this coming really, because I don't know if something like this has ever happened in the past quite like this. I am talking about the fact that last gen consoles, the PS4 and the Xbox One, simply refuse to die and are legitimately holding back the industry to some extent. More like holding back the generation. This video will mostly be about the PS4 and PS5 because those are my preferred platforms personally, but generally speaking, Xbox is a part of this conversation as well. So compared to the PS4, or really any generation, 4 years into it, well 3.5 I guess, we had way more current gen games, meaning like we had way more games that weren't cross-gen. Right now, almost every game, even the really good looking ones, are cross-gen. Previous generations really didn't have this problem. So there are a lot of factors as to what could be causing this. So the first thing is the most obvious one. More people own a PS4 than the PS5. So publishers are just like, yeah, put our game on PS4 as well. Which is honestly fine for the first year or two, maybe. But 4th year in and we're still getting mostly cross-gen games? That's like unheard of. Like at a certain point, collectively, we have to pack it up and abandon the previous generation for the sake of advancement in the industry. But that hasn't collectively happened yet. A publisher here and there have done it, but together as an industry, we haven't done that yet. And the thing is, from a business perspective, I understand why you would prefer to make your game cross-gen. As I said earlier, there simply is more people that own a PS4 than a PS5. A statistic that cannot be denied. So naturally, as a publisher, you're probably going to not exclude the platform that has the most players. And honestly, I think the fact that everyone is doing cross-gen games has like a domino effect, for lack of a better term. I think because everyone is still doing cross-gen, it's making it harder for them to not do cross-gen, because it's like, why miss out on those PS4 sales when no one else is, right? The next reason I believe cross-gen is so prevalent right now is because it takes so fucking long to make games nowadays. It takes so long that when they're finally done making the game, they're thinking, well, we worked on this game for 5 years, maybe longer. We're going to get all the sales we can get. Last generation, and even more so previous generations, we had entire trilogies, sometimes even more than that on that one generation. Games didn't take anywhere near how long they take to make now, so there was a less risk of putting a game on just the current gen console. If it didn't do so well, I mean, that sucks and all, financially of course, but you could have another game out in like 2 years in a lot of cases. Maybe 2 years, maybe 3. Not to mention the budgets of games is also higher nowadays, so that's even less reason for them to take any risks. Something I've been seeing people bring up is that we are seeing diminishing returns from generation to generation. Like the leap isn't as high now, so the PS4 can handle most of what the PS5 can. And to be honest, I don't necessarily believe this like at all. I do think we've seen a little bit of diminishing returns, but not enough to be that impactful in my opinion. The PS5 graphically and mechanically can do way more than the PS4. It's just that we're not seeing much being done with the PS5 hardware because publishers don't care for the most part, which is pretty sad. But look at Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. Amazing visuals, near instant loading times, and the rift mechanic, which would let you rift to entirely different areas in seconds. And like I said, it is true that not many games are utilizing the PS5 hardware, but you can't really sit here with a straight face, be dead ass serious, and tell me that it's not an upgrade from the PS4. So yeah, the diminishing returns thing, I get where it's coming from, but I don't think it's as much of a factor as people think it is. But yes, people not seeing the point of the PS5 is definitely contributing to everything being cross-gen. I get it to some extent, but ultimately, I think people should upgrade. I mean, when you start playing games at 60 FPS instead of 30 on the regular, it's pretty hard to go back. Not to mention the PS4 sounds like a fucking jet engine. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that some of these PS4 ports are dog shit. Like, that shit be looking crusty sometimes, and I'm just sitting there like, you guys are fine with this? You PS4 owners don't want better texture?
No.
Frame rate?
No.
Resolutions? Nothing?
No.
Like, I know casuals don't care about that stuff, but I'm having a real hard time wrapping my head around people that play every day and yet they are still perfectly fine with just the PS4. Those people exist. You can't tell me they don't. There's over 100 million PS4 owners. There's no way the only people not upgrading are casual players. You know, just people, you know, that come home from work and play like an hour max and then stop. There's definitely a lot of those, I'm sure, but it is impossible that that's literally all of them. And it's also crazy how games are getting last gen ports like months to a year after the normal release. They just announced Jedi Survivor is now coming to last gen consoles. Like, what? Where did we go so wrong? So the question at this point is, will the cross-gen games ever stop? Like, maybe this will be the first generation of consoles that doesn't push the medium forward. Maybe the cross-gen games won't stop until next-gen consoles come out in fucking 2028 or whatever. All I know is, if I still see this many games being cross-gen next year, or God forbid the year after, I'm gonna have to take my uncontrollable rage out on the world. This godforsaken earth will feel my wrath, and it'll all be because that one cross-gen game was one too many. That cross-gen game will be the straw that broke the camel's back. Anyway, here's hoping that next year is the year that this shit slows down, or best case scenario, stops. Only time will tell. So, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.